Hi folks, I'm Dan the Chili Man of Palatable Pepper Products here in Hudson Falls, New York in my little pepper patch. Standing amongst the Trinidad Scorpion Morugas that are growing, and a couple rows over are the Carolina Reapers and some chocolate ghost chilies, and then another patch I've got red habaneros that I grow. Today we're going to discuss how to successfully grow hot peppers in the northeastern United States, and it isn't that hard. One of the toughest things you got to do, but it pays off in the long run, is prepare your soil of your garden. You got to have good soil. So if you don't have good soil, just build it up with peat mosses, compost soil, get leaves from your village, save your leaves, don't throw them away, turn them into mulch and compost them over time. When I say mulch is use them as mulch where you can in your garden, and then they're going to get plowed in every year over and over, and you're going to build up your soil. And always rotate your crops best you can. We used to do corn in one patch and all our veggies in the other, and then we'd switch the patches each year. So that's a simple way to just keep in mind you got to rotate some of your crops to keep your soil quality good. The next thing we're going to talk about today is drip irrigation system. I'm on well water. I do everything natural, so try to have the best quality product. And over here is the feeder line to our drip system, and I'm going to show you the components of it real quick, and then we're going to discuss the layout of the raised beds for the peppers and the black plastic that we use to encourage the growth and to hold the warmth of the soil overnight. That's one of the tricks. The drip irrigation system we're using a black PVC pipe. It's nothing more than what you'd use for like outdoor irrigation systems, for underwater sprinkler systems and such. So it's easy to get at any supply store. We buy from a farm supply source the drip tape that we're using and the connectors that we're going to put into this system here, folks. So it's really easy. You simply we're going to be drilling a hole that's appropriate for this receptor, and they give you instructions with the tools that you buy in. And so you drill holes in the space distance that you want your rows apart, and simply put these in like a little, push it right in, it locks right in there, and it's got threads on it. So you actually are going to take a piece of your drip tape, and it helps to water this first, so this might not work really well for me here, but you slowly wiggle it down onto the connector all the way till you're actually up against it so you can go no further. And these are reverse threaded like plumbing parts always are. So you turn the little knurled knob and your tape is now connected, and you run it as long as you want it to run. I usually have run my run lengths and cut them and have them ready to be installed at the very end. This is the end of the row where we've laid the drip tape, and you would do this before you'd actually raise the bed, so that you're pulling your soil with a rake from either side of the drip tape up into a pile, and you're going to do that from both directions and make a fairly large pile, and the drip tape can stay inside the tine of your rake. I don't have my rake here today, but you'd be using your rake to kind of level your pile, and the drip tape can be running freely right between the tines. So it actually doesn't really get in your way. It helps you put your row in the right spot, okay? And I have mine simply anchored here with a landscaped fabric anchor that you can get at your general supply store. And once you get that mound all set up, you run your plastic out. And what we do is, as we unroll the plastic, one of us is anchoring the plastic in a couple of spots so it won't go anywhere while you run the plastic. And then you'd be simply unrolling the plastic so you fill your row out, and then you get it anchored by alternating. You don't need to have too much dirt, it's just going to invite weeds. So you only want to use what you need to anchor. So I tend to alternate where I'm going to put my next piece of soil and get it anchored. Don't worry about being neat, you can do that after. Then you slice your slices in your plastic with a sharp blade. Sometimes I don't use so sharp a blade, but anyway, I do about 1 foot to 9 inches spacing. It really should be about 1 foot to 14 inches between the center of your first slit, the center of your next slit. And just keep doing that part of the way. Then you normally, I tried to make this squeeze in extra plants last year, so I didn't really stagger my slices. So normally I'd have a slice here, then a slice here, and a slice here, and I stagger them so that everything's at least 1 foot to 12, 14 inches apart in any direction. And so the plants are not up against the drip tape. The roots don't grow into the drip tape, and the roots don't want to be wet. That's why we're raising the beds. Pepper plants don't like wet roots. We have lots of rain in the Northeast. You gotta have raised beds for growing peppers. You gotta. And black plastic. The reason I use black plastic is not so much for weed control. It is to generate heat into this soil mound that's gonna sit there all night and make these puppies think they're down in the Yucatan Peninsula. We have the heat and the humidity, we just don't have the heat long like they have down south, so we gotta take advantage of what we have. They do this in Alaska all the time. They get very short growing season, but 22 hours of daylight, and they use black plastic and grow some of the world's biggest cabbages and pumpkins and stuff, because they got 22 hours of sunlight for a short period of time, but they maximize the heat benefits from the solar benefits. So that's why you're using black plastic. So you have this drip tape that once your row's complete, we want to terminate it so it doesn't keep watering where you don't want to water. So you fold it over, you take an old piece of bad, crappy garden hose you thought you were going to throw away, and you reuse it for something like this. And you basically anchor that right in there. And it's already held down by the drip tape here, the little anchor. So now about using drip irrigation. The beauty of this is you're going to use a low pressure water supply to it, so you don't need the water turned on very high. And these slits are at a specification of 1 foot apart, so there's water slowly dripping out 1 foot apart the whole length of this thing. And you're going to water it probably 6 to 8 hours overnight in order to wet the soil. And I do overnight because it doesn't evaporate out with the hot sun. If you have to water during the day, by all means do. But you can water with drip tape overnight because you're only wetting the soil of the roots. You're not overhead watering with a sprinkler system that would bring fungus problems and things that you can't do overnight because of that reason. You would invite mold, mildew, and fungus issues. What we're discussing right now is upkeep. One of the things you got to do besides weeding is as the plants grow and there's lots of new growth, the old growth yellows and browns and dies and falls off. And you got to do this for peas, beans, and other plants too. Like when I'm picking green beans, I take all the old growth out. When I'm weeding in between my rows, yes, I weed. I actually don't use a rototiller. And I pull out all this old growth, anything that's down, chance to get a weed you didn't see. So you just do that as you weed, all right? You want to get rid of this because this invites funguses, molds, and stuff, and you want to take this stuff right out and put it in your compost pile, okay? And we're going to go and talk about prepping the plants for getting better pod production and pod ripening. That's our next discussion. We're in the Northeast. We're not growing plants year-round. So when you get pods looking like this, you want to start getting them to ripen. And we have new growth going here that we're going to cut off up on the top. You don't have to go crazy trimming the hedge here, but you basically want to cut above the pods the new growth that has flowers on it. You see the flower? And there's baby pods starting right here. Yeah. We will never get any value out of those. This is growth that we cannot use, and it slows down the ripening process of the peppers that are on the plant. Okay, and so you're going to let more sunshine get down in there to help get these puppies ripened and everything else. This happens to be one that has a lot of fruit, which not all of them are this fortunate. But you can see there's one starting to ripen in here, and go ahead, you know, it doesn't hurt. In a day or two, 3 days, I'll probably pick that. And some of them fall off. It's okay. Use them for something if you want. This is a heavy fruit load. This plant won't ripen all of those pods fast because there's too many pods on there. So it's okay to go ahead and pick some things off and let the fruit load that's there ripen better. Folks, in closing discussions about our growing peppers in the Northeast successfully, I want to mention a couple of things. We're going to be going to some garlic festivals, and as you see here, I've got some garlic I grew this year, and this is what it's looking like before you get it all cleaned up. And that's what it looks like after you make it look pretty. But anyway, Labor Day weekend, Saturday, September 5th and 6th is the Southern Vermont Garlic and Herb Festival in Bennington, Vermont. Come join us. And also going to be at the big Hudson Valley Garlic Festival. Look on my t-shirt here in Saugerties, New York, the last weekend of September. It's the 26th and 27th, I believe, this year. The information we've presented today is available at any time at my facebook.com/palatable pepper products, all lowercase, no hyphens, PALATABLE, pepper products. You can also give me a call at the mail order hotline anytime at 518-746-0161 and get with me directly. You can text me at that number, and you can also email me at danthechiliman1@gmail.com with any questions that you may have pertaining to growing peppers or anything else for that matter, or even to put in an order. I specialize in making pepper jellies and hot sauces from the peppers that I'm growing. And I also make a family of seasonings that are greater majority are salt-free and all are MSG-free. And the great majority of my products are gluten-free because I don't use fillers. Just put lots of good flavors in a jar. So come join the Palatable Pepper Products wave and enjoy good food, homegrown, homemade.